Hi, this is Eric from CrystalPM, and this is the Kno2 integration tutorial. Using this integration is an alternative to the traditional direct messaging in Crystal. One major feature is that you can send and receive faxes. It also includes an address book, and you can assign Crystal users specific addresses so they can only view and send messages for those specific addresses. So let's get started. So the first thing that you need is an existing Kno2 account. Please contact Kno2 by email at sales@kno2.com to start this process of creating that account, and let them know in the email that you're a Crystal user. When that is complete, the next step will be to log in to Kno2. The first step will be to create addresses. Click the gear or settings icon in the top right and click Kno2 addresses. It's possible that there will already be addresses associated with the account. One possible route you could take is to creating an address for each CrystalPM user. To create a new address, click the plus button at the top right. Here you'll decide what the address will be as well as the nickname. When you've added that information, click the Save Changes button. The next part is to record the credentials required to enable the integration in Crystal. This includes the app ID, client key, and client secret key. Click the settings icon in the top right and click Add-ons. On this page, click the Applications tab, and here you'll see the app ID. I'd recommend copying that string into a text editor like Notepad, so later we can paste it into Crystal integration settings. Next, we'll generate the client key and client secret key. Click the settings icon in the top right and click Organization. Scroll down to the bottom of this page, and here we'll see the client key and client secret key text boxes. But before we generate those strings, we need to add the internet IP address or addresses that Crystal is accessed from. If you access Crystal from your practice's office and you have one internet service provider, then we would just add that one IP. If your practice has multiple locations and you're not using cloud, you would want to add the internet IP for each location. Cloud offices would technically be accessing Crystal from one internet IP. If you're not a cloud office and you access Crystal from home, then you would need to add your home internet IP as well. An easy way to find out what your internet IP is just to search "What's my IP" in Google, and here we can see Google has already given the answer. So copy this address and we'll paste it into Kno2 in the whitelisted IP text box and click the Save IP Addresses button. Now we can generate the client key and client secret key, so click the Generate button and also click Enable after that. And now copy and paste the client key and client secret key into Notepad. And keep in mind that after this, it will no longer show you your client secret key, so you really do need to copy it somewhere. So now we're ready to set up the integration in Crystal. So let's log into Crystal and go to Admin, Integrations, and Secure Messaging. And then here we'll click the Enable checkbox, copy and paste the base URI of your Kno2 account. Also copy and paste the client key and client secret key and app ID that we copied into Notepad earlier. You have the option to always manually check for messages, or you can have it set to where you manually retrieve messages, but also it'll check for messages automatically on a set interval, such as every 5 minutes. When this is added, go ahead and click the Save button. Now we'll set up a Crystal user account to work with the integration. Go to Admin Employees, double-click the desired user, then go to the Integrations tab, scroll down to the bottom section related to Kno2, and here we want to check Enabled for User. If you want to see the animated notifications in the bottom right of your screen when new messages are received, check the notification option. Next, we'll add addresses, which will allow the user to send and receive messages for those specific addresses. You can also remove those addresses. And now we'll update that Crystal user with these changes. Before we can see these settings take effect for this account, we need to log out and log back in. And now we can use the integration. To open up the Kno2 window, click the Import Export option in the menu bar and then click Kno2 Secure Messaging. Now we can see the Messages tab, which by default displays unread messages in your inbox, but you can also view draft messages, sent messages, and deleted messages in the trash. But first we'll create and send a message to ourselves. So we'll go to the Compose tab, and let's select an address from the address book. I've already manually added the addresses that are associated with this Kno2 account. You can select a single or multiple contacts to send to, then click the Select button at the bottom to make these the receiving or to addresses for the message. Next, we'll select a subject. The subject is not a free text field. This is a measure to prevent patient identifying information from being included in the subject line. You can add subjects through the Kno2 account on the Kno2 site by clicking the settings in the top right, then configure releases, and then click the plus button to add subject lines. The subjects listed here were included with the account by default, but if you don't see any subject listed or the subject you just added isn't showing, click the refresh button next to the subject field to refresh the list from your account. Next, we'll add the body text. Then we'll select the patient that this message is associated with. Now let's add some attachments to the message. You can add attachments directly from the patient files in Crystal. You can also add attachments for files in your system. And another option you have is to attach an up-to-date summary of care CCD. Now that we have a complete message, let's send it to our address for the sake of an example. So let's click the Send button. Now let's go back to the Messages tab to view the message we just sent ourselves. To get it right away, click the Retrieve Messages button to check for messages, and then double-click that received message to open it. Here we can see that we sent the message from the fax number associated with the Kno2 account, and we sent it to the records address. We can see the subject, body, attachments, as well as the basic demographics of the patient that the message was related to. But to import the attachments to this new message, we first need to select the patient that this message should be associated with. Now we can import the attachments that were included in this message. Select an attachment in the list and click the Import button. We can add the file to the patient's files. If the attachment is the XML version of the CCD, we can import the discrete patient data from the file to the patient's demographics and medical records, which works the same way as it did before. So that concludes this tutorial. As mentioned before, if you want this integration, please contact Kno2 by email at sales@kno2.com to start the process of creating the account. And I would also let them know in the email that you're a CrystalPM user. Thank you.